sawest, verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was, meaning it was there right now, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and shall go into perdition. Now, that beast that she riding on is going to be riding on the shoulders of the man of sin. That means the beast, the man of sin, is going to promote also this beast, to also give its power to go forth at the same time that he is. In verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. So, it says, those whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. So, Yahweh knew then who was in and who were not. As he told Jeremiah, I knew you before you was in the womb. He know each and every one of us, who's in and who's not. That's why Yahshua, when he came and he gave the parable of the tares and the wheat, he said, let them grow up together. Don't disturb the harvest. Let them grow up together. I'll come and separate the tares from the wheat. And when he comes, he's going to separate the tares from the wheat. He's going to grip his people and have them gathered from the four corners of this earth unto him. Verse 9, it reads, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Here's a mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. The Catholic Church in the Vatican sits on 7 hills. It's called the City on 7 Hills. We know that when it begins to speak of heads and mountains, it's usually governments, or it could be literally a mountain. But this woman also, in this verse, it's talking about both literally 7 heads, which is going to be the governments, and it's talking about 7 mountains. That's the Catholic Church. Because the Catholic Church is also governing and ruling these 7 heads. It's 7 heads. They come up with a G7. I don't want to get all into the political aspect because I want to keep this on focus of the false prophet. We'll get there at a later date and time. But in verse 10, it reads, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. And one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Now, let me try to break this down for you so that you can understand it as simply as I can. It says 7 kings, 5 are fallen. The 7 superpowers or kingdoms that will be on this earth to rule it before Yahshua comes. 5 have fallen, so 5 have came already. So that was Assyria, Egypt, Medo-Persia, Greeks, or Greek, or whatever, Grecians. And then you had Rome. That's 5. And at the time Gotta understand, when Brother Yohanan or Brother John was getting this on the island of Patmos, Rome was the ruling body at the time of Europe. But, however, the Pope had the power. That was the mystery of iniquity that was always working in the earth, as it speaks of also in Thessalonians. The mystery of iniquity that does already work. That was the Pope reigning and ruling behind the scenes, calling the shots. So that's why I say, and one is, and the other is not yet come. So the one is would be the sixth, which was the Pope ruling behind the scenes of Rome. And the other is not yet come, which is going to be the revived Roman Empire. That's going to be your 7 heads and your 10 horns, the 10 crowns, which will be the European Union, which is the revived Roman Empire. Them last countries of the Roman Empire that went out, that have now regained their power. And you see them on TV. France, Germany, Great Britain, Rome, the revived Roman Empire. That's going to make up and consist of the 7. Now, and it says, when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Now, gotta understand this, what happened, what he's trying to say, because I just couldn't get that. I couldn't put my finger on it, couldn't understand it, until, like I said, I had to pray and ask. And he opened my eyes. This here, what we're talking about and seeing, is something that happened around 800 AD. The Pope, who was ruling and had his power, tentacles across the earth at that time, was losing it. So he in turn went to, which was Leo III, went to Charlemagne, the king over there then at the time, England, which, if you got to look through the history of England and the coats. See, when I didn't understand these nations, and which we're going to have to get into this, and you got to look at their coats of arms. William's father coat of arms in 1947 through 49, in which they done away with and gave him one. And his coat of arms, it has a ram on it and a bear. That's going to take me back and deal with Daniel in chapter 8 about a ram and a goat. Not dealing with that now, but just keep that in mind, because that was a prophecy for today at the end time. It's at the latter time. No one talks about that prophecy, but we're going to get to it in its time. Now, when the Pope went to Charlemagne, because he was losing his power and his grip on the nations, he felt if he made a union with him and they can unite, then through the power he had as king, that he can rule along with him together as one and rule the world. And that's what they done. That was the beginning of the false prophet and the man of perdition. But Charlemagne didn't want to even become king. He wanted his son to be crowned. But Leo came and crowned Charlemagne on December the 25th. Look at the date. And when he crowned him, by crowning him king, he gave him the title of David. He gets the title of Your Highness, meaning if you are the highness or the highest. Matter of fact, the title is Your Highness and Your Highest. You're putting yourself above Yahweh. If you're saying you are the highest, you're putting yourself above the Almighty. And wanting to be worshipped. This man of perdition is going to stand in that temple when they rebuild it. That's something for a later date and time too. We're going to get into that later. Try to stick with this. This is the 8th because they come together as one. And it is of the 7th because Great Britain is of the 7 heads. And Britain was under Rome's power. But this is the catch and the kicker. Britain don't like Rome. They don't like Catholicism. Because when you look at their histories through Prince Philip's father and mother, his mother was an Orthodox Greek. And she really was wanted to change things and didn't want to get with the Roman thing. But she was caught in the middle because she had Philip, her son, who went to Britain to go into the army, the Navy fleet and all that to fight. And 2 daughters who went and married into royalty, as they would say, in Germany. And they became Nazis. So now your son fighting with Great Britain, your daughter's fighting on the sides of Nazis, and she's in the middle. Drove her crazy. Literally. Had to put her away. Alice. And putting her away, she comes back out and she becomes a nun and try to do things for the church. And however, they break off of Catholicism and go with Lutheranism, because that ain't nothing but a breakup of the great harlot. We'll get to that, in which I really don't want to go too far. But all of Christianity started with Catholicism and this great harlot. And all of the rest of the ones that break off her children, Protestant, Episcopalian, Baptist, Holiness, anything that deals with Christianity is her offspring, which basically governs the whole world. And the Pope himself has power called the Supreme Papacy, which means anything that's Christian, even if you're saying your holiness and you ain't with Catholicism, you come under his rule. So when they bring forth to come with this mark of the beast and go throughout the whole world, if you don't accept it, you will be killed. Because England basically governs and runs and owns all of the world. If not through England owning it. The Pope, the Roman Catholic religion, Christianity, is the leading religion with all those other little breakdowns of the world. But it's going to be hated by Yahweh. Yahweh hates this harlot. And these nations, as I say, didn't like Catholicism. England herself, they don't even respect the Pope. I'm trying to bring this down to the end. The Queen went to go visit the Pope last year. I do believe it might have been around March or so. And when she went to visit the Pope, showed him no respect. Usually, when any woman come to visit the Pope, they have to wear all black attire. She comes with a violet dress on and hat, comes late to their engagement. Everyone else to come visit the Pope, any national figure, anybody, they be on time. Usually the Pope may be late, had them waiting, but she had the man waiting. Her and her husband, Philip, along with the Italy's president, which is a German. No, he's the president, but he was also a communist. So then, when we get into this later on, you're going to see how, and I will show you how Gorbachev and Pope John Paul try to bring this forth, which is coming down the pipe now, but it wasn't his time. He will make up that second horn that the ram had. And he is the one that got wounded to death, but lived. Gonna get into all that eventually, but here, let's keep dealing with the false prophet who is this Pope today. So, in verse 11, and it say, the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seventh, and goeth into perdition. Now, as I said, he's the eighth, but is of the seventh that goeth into perdition. Now, William, when he becomes king and be crowned, the same way Charlemagne was through the Pope, right? He's going to be the seventh king ruling again. But the Pope ruling alongside of him will also be the eighth, because they will have equal authority, reigning equally upon this earth. And they say as the whole world wonders after the beast. And the false prophet makes the whole world wonder after the beast. The Pope go throughout this whole world, and people come out in flocks in numbers. Just was in India. Indian people who religion ain't even Catholic. They not even Catholic, not even Christian. They came out in record numbers to see this man. To say, if I just could touch him, if I just could see him, I just believed it. Whoa. Now, he is coming, and he done wrote a book of 60, would say theses, like how Martin Luther did, I would say, of what he think how the world should be governed through global warming and all this, which is coming through the Earth Charter, which I will get to that. We're going to cover that also eventually. The Earth Charter, which has its own Ark of the Covenant, which is called the Ark of Hope. I don't want to get too far with that. I'm going to just give you a little something that all this got to tie in together through the UN. Now, the Pope wants to be setting at their summit that they're going to have this shit.